Should be live any second.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw that a tweet just came out, I do believe. Yes. Well, at least Twitch came out, so. Let's see here.
Ta-da! I see our faces.
Good. Good. All right. Well, I see your face. I don't see my. I see my face. I don't see yours.
Well, on Twitch.
Oh, well, that's all that matters, isn't it? Let's see. Did we get Twitch to go live on the Twitter?
I'm posting it to our Facebook. I just posted to our Facebook.
Okay. And I am just making sure. Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Oh. And you said it tweeted automatically?
When you put it on Facebook, it automatically tweeted it.
Okay.
All right. So are we ready?
I just took a Xanax, so I'll be ready by the time I'm talking too much.
Well, that's a plus. So let's get started. Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast that reclaims faith in the context of political discussion. Today, we are going to talk about, well, what everybody's been talking about for the past 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about metoo. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court. We're going to be talking about all of that today. Of course, I am Reverend Barney, and you can, of course, follow me on social media via Twitter at Seth Roth II. That's SETHIROTHII. Or you can find us at Heresy and Hearsay on Facebook, or Heresy and Hears 1 on Twitter. And, of course, my beautiful and intelligent co-host.
Hi there, I'm September, also known as 9 of 12. I want to, yeah. If you go to heresyandhearsay.com, by the way.
You can find her on Twitch and Twitter of 9INEOF12.
That's correct. You can also find us now at heresyandhearsay.com. I did buy the URL, and our website is under construction, and that means as soon as I can find the time, we'll also be properly podcasting. You'll be able to find us in podcatchers. But I learning how to set up an RSS, because that wasn't my job in my other show, and I'm doing a lot of election work right now. So give me a little time.
You're doing the work that needs to be done, as far as, especially after this past week. So, yeah. Definitely one of those situations where I'm not going to say you need to do other things, or any of us are going to say you need to do other things right now.
Save the world. One vote at a time.
All right, so let's talk about the past 2 weeks. First off, I know you guys have been missing us. I've been doing a job change, and so things have been hectic. I've been basically working 2 jobs right now. So I've been, the best I can do at this moment right now is and on Facebook, going in angry rants. So you'll be able to see that. And hopefully once everything settles down with the job and everything, we'll definitely be getting further on down the line as far as that's concerned. And I know that September has been working very diligently, getting people out registered to vote, and also helping those candidates to be elected to our house, to our local constituencies in her area. So all of that's good.
It's got to be done. And folks, if you want to, change the world, and more than just your own vote, get other people to, call your local political party and go knock on some doors.
Yes. Definitely do that. Definitely knock on some doors. Definitely, in the state of North Carolina, for example, and we'll talk a little bit more about this a little bit later because we'll figure out how to do a link to it. Um, State of North Carolina, last day to register to vote is the 12th of October. So, please try to get registered to vote as quickly as possible and check your registration, make sure it's okay, and where you're going to vote.
Yes. Now, in North Carolina, we also have early voting, and you can register to vote during early voting if you're voting at that time. There's probably several locations to do that in your county. And I mean, if you have a very restrictive job and you can't go on election day, that's certainly a great way to make it more convenient so that everyone, I mean, there's no excuse. There's plenty of time to go vote. If you need to register during that period, take ID with you and some piece of mail that shows something being mailed to you. You do need 2 forms of ID to be able to register and vote at the same time. Registering ahead of time, like Barney said, definitely check your registration. If you go to the Board of Elections website, the State Board of Elections, you look yourself up and you can just verify that your registration is active. There have been pushes politically to deactivate people and things like that have been troublesome. Absentee voting is a really great way to make sure your vote is counted because, I mean, the names of the ballots that came in, I mean, they don't tell everyone how you voted, but those have to be posted at your polling place on election day. So you can absolutely know your vote was counted if you don't trust the machines or whatever. But I've heard trouble this week already. The absentee ballot deadline is October 30th to request it. I've been sending forms to people who want to request them. Some people I know sent in their ballot request and then they didn't get their ballot and they checked with the Board of Elections and they sent it to, the address they asked for it to be sent to last time around, not on this application. So do it early so that you can check it, so that you can make sure you get it or fix it if something goes wrong.
Yeah, because at this point right now, and I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but at this point right now, there is so much shady stuff going on to make sure that the votes are either not counted or are suppressed, that you need to make sure that you do everything you can. And one of the ways to make sure that if there's suppression of the vote or whatever, is that there is just so much overwhelming numbers at this point that a few suppressed votes will not make a difference. Because there has been poll after poll showing how people are disgusted and upset with this and everything else. And honestly, that should generate votes. It should not be even a question. When the votes are counted, it should be overwhelming. I want to see, personally, I will stand in line. I will call out to work if I have to, and I will stand in line all day if I need to, just to make sure I vote. I want to.
Well, it's like that whole Florida nightmare, right? One vote per precinct Bush v. Gore nightmare wouldn't have happened. And that's not many. Think your vote doesn't matter. One vote per precinct would have made that whole mess unquestionable. Also, by law, so that your employer does have to give you time off to go vote. I think it's a 2-hour thing, but there's it's worded as a reasonable amount of time. You can say you have to. They can't fire you for that.
Especially, and now I've heard Lyft is offering free rides to polling places.
I heard Lyft and Uber have something going on. I haven't looked it up, and I haven't been contacted by Lyft about it for some reason.
But that's definitely something that we will definitely be posting on either the Twitter or the Facebook, and once we get some more information about that, so that and like I said, if you know people that need a lift to their polling station, if you have a car, offer. Go out, vote. Because this one's going to make a difference. This one's a big one. Last one was a big one too, and I agree to that. And I'm not going to lay blame on anybody else, at least not here, about voting and everything. But this one makes a difference. I know that I have a lot of Democrat friends that like to vote every other election. We need to vote every election. We need to vote every time that the ballot box is open, because it starts with these kind of movements that we're seeing and they're reaping now that we're having to deal with. Starts at the local level, starts at the school board, starts at your city council, starts at your mayor's office, and these are the people that eventually move up, and they're the ones that eventually are the ones that become senators and vote against what people want. And you need to start going and learning about your local elections because they're just as important.
Yeah, people think, I mean, it's easy to give up hope right now, right? Like, it's also big and far away. But, I mean, think about everyday things that affect your life. These local elections, like right now, we have soil and water. That's protecting our local soil and water. We elect the Register of Deeds. I mean, if you're buying property, these are people that are elected and have a public trust to do these jobs. So yeah, absolutely, local is important and it affects your everyday life. There are ways you can just point it out. You know, is the city council or the county commission, depending who it is in your area, are they going to vote for the funds to support the 911 program and extend it or not? This goes on in your town.
Right. And so you need to be very mindful and you need to watch that. That said, let's talk about what's happened the past 2 weeks. So, or actually longer than that, but let's talk about the past 2 weeks. So, Dr. Ford was the first woman to state that she was physically and sexually an attempted sexual assault on her by now Justice Kavanaugh, back when they were in high school. Originally, the letter was sent, and it was an anonymous letter. Uh, and she eventually came out and said, "Yes, it was me. I am more than willing to speak, but I would like to have a full investigation, a full FBI investigation on this matter." So that when she went up there, she wasn't going to, basically, it was not going to be a he said, she said situation. She didn't quite get that, but what she did come out there and she had a polygraph, which she passed. My understanding, if I remember correctly, they did the polygraph on the same day that she had the funeral for her grandmother or mother, one of the two. I don't remember right off the top of my head. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Okay. But they basically administered the polygraph while she was already under stress and passed the polygraph test. So, and if anybody says, well, that would skew it, no, they always do baseline questions to find out where that baseline is. So it didn't skew that. Then she gave the testimony, and it was very powerful. And I mean, there was on Twitter and on Facebook when I was reading over it, because I was working, I didn't get a chance to see it, but until after the fact. But there were a lot of people that were affected, and it brought back a lot of pain. A lot of people were raw, and then
We still are.
yeah. And then 2 hours later, Kavanaugh took the stand, and he was acting like an angry, dry drunk. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I meant he was acting like he was a drunk. I mean, you know what I mean? He came out there and he was yelling and he was denying and he was blaming the victim and he was claiming to be a victim, which is basically everything that, someone who is trying to gaslight, someone who's trying to manipulate the situation, someone who's an abuser does that same thing where they flip it and make themselves the victim.
On the paranoid deflecting, it's the Clintons trying to get revenge on me. Wow, you're so nonpartisan and judicial, sir.
Yeah, even if these other allegations hadn't come out or whatever the case, and everybody was lying. The fact that he went out on that, which I believe all everybody who's came forward. But even if it was the other way, the fact that he came out and said that he was going to basically exact revenge for what they've done to him. How could you be a judge?
Yeah.
That alone, you just go, because for the kids in the room, there was a judge. I forget his last name, but his first name was Bork, and he was basically not allowed. Didn't even get out of committee for for not even a tenth of what Kavanaugh talked about as far as being bipartisan, and he didn't even get out of committee because of that stuff. And now it's like it's a badge of honor to be partisan, and you're not. And the Supreme Court is supposed to be anything but partisan. It's supposed to look at the law and be nonpartisan. It's our last saving grace for people's rights. And the Republican Party didn't care. In fact, they were happy that he came out acting that way, and just being mean. And then
and Senator Collins can go straight to hell. I mean, I watched her 43-minute speech on the floor while she was letting people know, that she was going to vote for him, talking about how sure she was he would never lie, and he's going to protect Roe v. Wade and everything else. And it didn't, the evidence didn't rise to more likely than happened than didn't, even though she kept referring to Dr. Ford as a survivor through the whole thing. And, she was credible, and I'm sure something terrible happened to her, but, I don't believe it was Mr. Kavanaugh. And, no, you can't pull that in between, I believe you're a survivor, but I'm going to put this guy forward, and just, I believe you, I don't believe you. You can't just not choose one and take action and bullshit. She made me very, very angry.
Well, especially when 2 years ago, when Al Franken, when those sexual harassment and sexual assault statements came out about him, and how she was like, "Oh, there's no place for this," and all of that, and so she also came off very hypocritical, and she basically voted with her party. And I know that's not always the case. Normally she has cover, and this time she was giving, this time she didn't have the cover. So
she's painted as a moderate, but it's a lie. They just, because it'll help her win in her district, they will let her take cover. Oh, well, we already have the votes, you go ahead. I mean, that's how that political game works.
The only time that she stood up that I can think of in recent memory is the ACA. That she stood up, that Lisa Murkowski stood up, and that, John McCain stood up. And, but that was it. That's the only time I can think of where she stood and made a difference. And Lisa Murkowski, I know she voted present. That doesn't help anything.
No.
Because if she had voted...
Huge cop-out.
Yeah, because, vote, it's basically saying, I'm not because I don't want to look bad. That's all it is. So that didn't help out at all either.
She really had a chance now, too, to be a hero for women. And threw it away. Threw us all under the bus. People wonder, why didn't, like Dumpster Fire 45, tweeted, if this really happened, I'm sure her loving parents, go ahead, imply her parents don't love her, while you're at it, dickhead, would have reported it. Really? With Kavanaugh and his family all being powerful... local attorneys and the whole... I mean, there's a lot of pressure as women, and there's a lot of confusion. And if we look at the time period this was, I mean, there wasn't language for this. And it was more common, I think, than it is now. I think there has been progress. Like, there's a great article out there about how, like, look at movies, look at Pretty in Pink, right? There's the whole date rapey, here I'm done with this girl, you take her, give her to the nerd, ha ha ha, look, he got to be with the popular girl because she was so wasted, right? And
Right.
everybody loves this movie, right? We remember how great it was. But look what was in there.
Look at Revenge of the Nerds.
I know.
And back then, even and I'll be the first to admit that even then I was like, "Oh, that's funny, that's hilarious that she thinks that it's her boyfriend." Oh, but now you can step back and you go, "Oh, and understand that yes, there's an evolution. It's like watching Song of the South for those. It's a Disney movie back in the day that was problematic in the way. And if you watch it in today's eyes, you see the problems. But back then there weren't any problems. It's the same thing. You see the media of the past, and you go with today's eyes, and you go, "Ooh, how could anybody like that? That's so rapey and all that kind of stuff." And it's it's because we didn't really understand it back then. It was out there.
I mean, granted, there still is, and the only good thing to come of all this mess lately is it's keeping Me Too forward. The conversations are still happening. They're brutal. It's raw. All women who are survivors have had to be reminded of things that, I mean, whether we forgave, whether we put in the past, whether we prosecuted, whether we still have never said anything, had to go through it again and again and question ourselves, like, why didn't I? And face why we didn't, and what do we do now? And I mean, thank you, Dr. Ford. It was very brave, at her own peril of her career, her life, her family. She's
had to move twice.
Yeah, because she was doxxed. Because I had a really strange experience myself. A couple of them that have been hard. In the middle of all this, and this other, a man accosting me and screaming and yelling at me at the bar because I asked him if he'd gone to do some volunteer work he had wanted to do. And of course, of the next 4 days, he got banned from every bar in town. He started going after woman after woman after woman, attacking them in public, screaming and yelling. So that was great. I need to be a shit magnet. I dragged my butt to go register voters and organize the get out the vote effort for Catawba County. Even the day of the Kavanaugh hearings, I was like, I'm going to stop watching. Mm-hmm. I'll listen in the car. I have to go to work. I wanted to go back to bed. I just wanted to crawl in bed, go to sleep, and forget it as long as I could. And then that night, I start getting verbally abused in public by that guy, and then a couple days later, I'm like, okay, things are settling down. I'm starting to feel a little better. The investigation at least supposedly might happen. I mean, I wasn't really buying that, but I was making myself feel better. And I'm going to work, and I get Facebook Messenger pops up with a new message request from someone that around 20 years ago was a date rape situation. We had a casual friends with benefits type relationship. I go to his house, whatever. But there was a night where I got drunk. And he was drunk and he wanted to fool around and I didn't. I'm like, no. But I couldn't get home. I didn't have cab fare. I was intoxicated. And he kept, at it. I'm like, no, I just want to go to sleep. And I mean, he was my friend. I thought I'd go to sleep, and he kept at it. And as women, this is something a lot of us are familiar with. That way more people than any of you realize have all been through this. Where there's this, just let it happen, just get it over with. Amanda Palmer released a new video. Go watch it this week for the anniversary. Ironically, the day Kavanaugh was confirmed. It was the anniversary of the Harvey Weinstein stuff. and it's called, like, Mr. Weinstein Will See You Now. It is an incredibly powerful video and song, and in part of it, there's this litany of, let's just get this over with, that I wept through. But anyway, so yeah, I'm going to work, and I get this message request from this guy. After the incident had happened, I saw him again. I would go, we hung in the same places, and, as a woman, I didn't feel, sorry, this is hard.
It's okay.
At one point, we were arguing about something. We like to argue, actually. It was a very competitive, intelligent argument relationship. And he said something, and I got really offended. I said, oh, okay, right, Mr. Date Rape. And he lost it. He did that defensive, guilty thing that Kavanaugh did. He started yelling. I believe he didn't understand that the consent violation that had happened. But no means no, and the continued pushing. But because we had fooled around before, I guess he thought it was okay, and he didn't understand. And I was like, no, really, dude. And he got pissed off, screaming, yelling. I didn't see him for a long time after that. Eventually, he did show up at a party I had. We were civil, but we didn't hang out anymore. And then, no shit, this week, he finds me on Facebook. And he's like, is this you? I'm like, do I answer? Right now, what is he going to... Why? Why does he want to talk to me? And I didn't let it go. I didn't ignore it, because there is a small hope in my heart that he wanted to say was, listen, with everything that's been going on, I'm sorry. I was hoping that might happen. But I was just aloof and cold, yes, it's me. He's like, oh, how you been? How's life treating me? Good. I'm in politics. Hoping that either he might run away or had the opportunity to bring up something.
Mm-hmm.
And no, he was just like, yeah, things are really a mess right now. And then he sent me a friend request, and I did ignore that. I can't open it up. There's too much. Mm-hmm. I have many other stories. I've seen women not be believed. I've seen children not be believed by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you must have been dreaming, honey. Or women that do find out their children are molested, and then we just never speak of this again, try to erase it. There's so much of it. There's so much of it. And as women, we really think we didn't understand it wasn't okay. We didn't have the language, and we're not believed. And we've seen people not be believed. And so why don't you come forward? Well, because you're going to be shamed. You're going to be the slut. It's that, what were you wearing? Oh, you were drunk. That is true and pervasive. Even with the number of cases that are not reported being so high. And there was a video I saw this week. It was a really, really great point. This guy's like, no one's asking these boys who were molested by priests, what took you so long? There's a very male-female line there that is sad and unfortunate. There's a great article a Yale professor put out where he, put on the board in his class, drew a line, men and women, so what do you do every day to prevent being sexually assaulted? And there's one answer for men saying, I don't think about it. And the women, the list, any woman. I've seen women who never post anything political and they don't stay in this, but all of us can look at that list and we do those things. We go in pairs. We watch our drinks. We carry our keys out in our fingers in case we need a weapon if we're walking somewhere. And it's just automatically, it's just what you have to do all the time. And I had someone I love very much say, oh yeah, I get that. I've been in really bad neighborhoods and I carried my keys like that. I appreciate, sir, that you are trying to empathize. But that's not the same thing. Women behave like this. You don't even have to be anywhere dangerous. There's just this constant, and you're always being, whether it's even hooped and hollered, people drive down the street. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. There's been so many stories posted, so many stories I know that haven't been posted, of why they weren't reported, or if they were reported, they weren't believed. This past 2 weeks, and don't state it. But I mean, we even have another recent thing. It took 45 women, and I'm not leveling the. And let me say this, because I know this has been an argument against this statement. I am not saying that by any way Kavanaugh is equal to what I'm about to say, but I am saying that there is a reason why women don't report, and why this is. And if you need like a statistical huge number point, it took 45 women before the 46th woman was believed enough, or there was enough of time to actually act before Bill Cosby was put in jail. 45 women had to step forward before the 46th was believed. This is why women don't report. If it takes that much, especially for a man of, and this is an African American man, but he was still a man of power. Can you imagine what it would be like for a rich, privileged white boy to have some girl that was at a party claim that he tried to rape her? I have seen posts of people saying that if there's no sperm, you must confirm.
oh, there's such shame. Like, we women, we shouldn't have to feel like, why would she come forward now? For instance, with Dr. Ford. Well, because we don't believe we're important enough, and I'll get over it, and I am stronger, and I'm okay, and I get therapy, and I'm better. But then it affects someone else, and you can stand up. This was going to affect our entire country for decades, and she had to stand up. She had to, and it was then worth the risk, even though she didn't for herself all those years with all the damage that she took upon herself. And I understand that. I mean, that relates to that story that happened with this guy attacking me last week, screaming and yelling at me in public. People are like, what the hell was that? I'm like, wow, I don't know. He's apparently drunk, whatever. Let it go. The next night I saw him again. He did it again. 5 minutes after going to my husband and saying, tell her I love her, he came over, he sat down. I thought he was going to apologize. Instead, he's talking, and I'm trying to get a word in edgewise, like, hey, can we talk about what happened last week? But I couldn't get an actual sentence. He kept over talking until I said, hey, one sentence. Can I have one? And he flipped his lid, stood up, started screaming, yelling, ranting and raving, going up and down the sidewalk, telling people, she defamed me on Facebook. And they were like, who are you? Whatever. And then I was like, wow, okay. I just went in the bar and I hid, and a friend of mine chased him away. And that's like where it went. That's where I left it. But then I got messages the next day asking if I was okay. I wasn't even there, but this guy went to the bar with handmade flyers saying, caution, safety, public safety warning, like, this area is known for violent attacks after dark, and is flyering the area around the bar, sticking them on tables in public places, and like, wow, okay, that's really weird. And the bar owner asked me to come and give a written statement for his lawyer if they continued to have trouble, to use if they continued to have trouble. Now, this is a guy I thought was a friend of mine, and I'm worried about him. Like, I think he got into some drugs, or he's got medication issues, he's undergoing treatments, and I know this, and I'm like, man, I want him to be okay. I don't know. But Tuesday, I don't know. When I was playing D&D, I got a message and found out something else was going on, and I looked, and that's when I found out he had gone to a different bar, screaming and yelling at two other women. and was removed. And I was like, okay. And I sat down and I opened Google Docs and I wrote that written statement. But the point I'm illustrating, it went right back to until it was, okay, I have to protect my community. It's not just me. To even act against being verbally assaulted. So sexual assault, there is also that shame element. And then you're ashamed you didn't as time goes by, that you didn't tell anybody. And I still have that now. That's about last week. Like, I can't open it all up. I'm not going to call those people out. I've worked to forgive. And for me, forgiving is giving it to them. I wasn't going to live and let that keep eating me. So it's theirs. And it's gone from me. I didn't have to wait around, ask them to beg me to forgive them. That's an exercise in hopelessness. That's probably not going to happen, ladies.
But so, yeah, I'm just the situation is that, you know, and I admitted this on Facebook, and I'll say it here. As a teenage boy, I sexually assaulted a woman. I grabbed her ass. I am not proud of it. I made a mistake. I fucked up. I have lived with that and have been sad about that. And if I could even remember who it was, I would ask for her forgiveness.
Well, if you don't remember exactly who and what and where and what time, it didn't happen. Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's fine.
I mean, you know what I mean, right? Like, holy crap, that whole line of bullshit with the Kavanaugh hearings.
Well, and I saw this somewhere, and I have stolen it, and I want to say it was my friend Becky from England, but it may have been somebody else. And I saw this, and I'm stealing it from now on. I am no longer calling Donald Trump. He is now the Fanta Mentis.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I like that one. Anyways, when I watched him mock Dr. Ford on stage, and I saw this on Twitter, it's like, this is what you're teaching little girls, that it's if you come out and say someone sexually assaulted you, you're teaching little girls that this will happen to you, that you will be mocked in public.
Yeah, and there's a little girl sitting in the room who wants to tell Mom and Dad that the babysitter did something, and they're scared and they're ashamed, and they see their parents cheering with that crowd.
And then it just keeps going. And it is not okay. It is not okay to have women so afraid to come out and say something happened to them that they are silent for years. It is not okay for women to be shamed when they do come out, to be mocked when they do come out.
And you know what? It's also not okay to shame somebody by telling them, why didn't you? It's really, really not. Because everyone has to deal with things in their own way and heal their own way. Don't. I've been being pressured to do that. No.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's not how I chose to deal with it. It's not how I deal with it. And I don't want to rip open a wound and suffer more. That's, I mean, to me, it's more important to have a forward speaking topic, make it aware, give other women a voice, give the feed that tide of public opinion, get people to go vote with their hearts, get more women elected, you know, so that there's a true representation anywhere in this process. Like, I can do things that are positive without having to paint myself a victim to do it, because that's another, people are just go, oh, look, they just want me to feel sorry for them. I don't need to do that. I'm a survivor, literally.
I went band, and I don't know if it can be seen. Let me bring it a little closer. It's my rain band. And it says, hope courage and strength. I've been a supporter of Reign since 96, 97. And they do really good work. And this has been a tough week for them. It's been a tough week. It's been a tough couple of weeks because they've gotten a lot of phone calls lately.
Oh, crisis lines are blowing up, yeah.
Because, and I don't want to co-opt because it hurts to see so many of my friends that I love and cherish feeling such despair and such pain. I've not ever been a victim of sexual assault. I don't know what it's like. I don't know what that does to a human brain and to a human soul. I can't answer questions. I can feel the pain that my friends feel, but it's one of those things where I will stand beside you and I will be your microphone, but I will not be the voice because that's what you are. You're the voice. I will just amplify your voice. And that's what I think men need to understand. Men need to understand two things: that we can't take over these kind of movements, that that we can support them and we can be the amplifiers, but we are not the voices. There are men like Terry Crews, for example, who was sexually assaulted, who went through this, okay? And for those who don't know what Terry Crews looks like, imagine a large brick wall that has arms and legs and a great sense of humor. That's Terry Crews.
Well, I think everybody knows him as the Old Spice guy, right?
Yeah, he's huge. I mean, I can't imagine, but he was sexually assaulted too. And so men do get sexually assaulted, and we are not, by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah. And I would love to, chime in on that as well. I know men who've been sexually assaulted, and I know that, yes, it's less statistically a thing. However, the shame that's automatic with that is horrifying. That you guys have that macho thing that, of course, you couldn't tell anybody because it would just make you less.
Yeah.
And people don't think it's possible, especially when it's a woman doing it. Yes, it is. It's just... It is. I've had this argument with people. Go look it up if you have to. Just like with... if we're going to make that argument about how ridiculous that person was saying, oh, well, women have this thing in their body when they're being raped and they could just shut that down. Like it won't work. Yeah, guess what? To be equanimous here, the same is true with men. There's not... some of it isn't just able to shut it down. Your brain can betray you.
Well, and then it's also a physical reaction that's completely involuntary anyways. It's just like for years, I know the law has changed, but I remember that years and years, if a woman was, lack of a better term, sexually aroused during a rape situation, that they threw it out. And they come out and said, no, it's biological. It is non-voluntary. You can't control that, And it's the same thing with men. Men can't control when they get turned on. It's how they react to it, and that's another one of those things. Is how men react to it. We're not beasts. Are you still with me? Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Sorry, my screen went blank. I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like, no, is that?
But the thing is, we are beasts. We're animals.
We are, but we have reason where we don't have to act on every instinct. That's what I was trying to say. Is that yes, biologically, our body reacts to certain things, certain stimuli and stuff, but it doesn't mean that we have to act on those stimuli.
Right.
Does that make?
Right.
So that's what I mean.
And desire and consent are things that, as human beings of higher thinking, we need to just completely all take our own responsibility for.
But you were, and I hate to break this down, but when you were talking about your story, the consent is key thing kept playing in my head. Just because someone wanted it yesterday doesn't mean they want it every day. So that was not consent. It's one of the things. You know, just because someone wants it today doesn't mean they want it tomorrow. And you don't have a right to it. You don't have a right to that sexual act if they don't want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, another person is not your property ever.
Mm-mm. No, you know what is so sad? Because I know this to be true, is that during this whole Kavanaugh thing and during, I think it was the cloture vote or very close to the cloture vote, the Nobel Peace Prize came out for this year. And the persons that it was a shared thing, and the persons that won were people that were fighting against sex slavery. One was a former sex slave, and the other was a doctor that helped a lot of women who were at one time sex slaves and stuff like that, and was a champion for them. And I honestly feel sometimes that the Nobel Prize, they're looking at what's going on in American politics and saying, you know what, let's show you what idiots you are. And that happened the same day. I know it happened the same day as the cloture vote. I want to say that the announcement came out fairly shortly after the cloture vote.
Sorry, I'm just so lost for things to say anymore.
That's okay. Do you want to wrap up?
Yeah, I want to not think about it for a while. It's been hard.
I understand.
I want to go watch the new Doctor Who when we finally have a female and just savor that.
All right. I want to thank you, September, for your strength and for willingness to do this. I want to thank you for that. So let's end this. I want to thank you all for watching tonight, and we'll get this uploaded in a day or so if we don't get it uploaded tonight. This is Reverend Barney. You can again follow me on Twitter at SPHIRRTHII. You can also follow the show on our Facebook, as well as Heresy 1 on Twitter.
Heresy and Here's One.
Yeah, Heresy and Here's One on Twitter. And of course, I have my companion who you can follow on Twitch and Twitter at 9 of 12. That's NINEOF12. You can follow her there. And thank you, September.
Well, thank you, Barney, for being here and having my back. Folks, don't forget, do check out our website at heresyandhearsay.com. And we will be getting all this stuff in one place that's handier soon. And go to patreon.com and look for us there. We could use your support. Every little bit of money helps to keep us running this show.
Yes. And I'll be posting links to both RAIN as well as the Nobel Peace Prize information, just because we brought it up. But I'll be posting the links for RAIN so that if you need to call, they'll be there for you. At this point, I do want to thank September, and I want to thank you guys, and we'll fight this.
Bless your hearts.
Bless your hearts.
At one point I was gonna, and I never got around to talking about bringing the religion in, because that's like what our show does. Where there are people who they actually religiously justify with this how women were made from men. Like,
it's okay.
Like we're a subspecies, right?
Right.
I'm sorry, I just remembered that we probably should have thrown that in there to keep with the format.
Tonight, I knew that it was probably not very format central, and we'll probably hit this topic a few more times in the next year or so, because this is one of those, because it's not going away. It's not going away. I figured the Me Too movement would have scared some people, but this backlash is a lot more than I expected.
Well, good, because until things actually change.
Well, no, I understand, but I didn't expect that this backlash against it to be against the Me Too movement.
Oh, did you see the North Carolina Republicans got a bunch of women to stand there talking about how disgusting? Oh.
how disgusted they were at the Me Too movement? Really?
Oh yeah, like the Democrats using such this horrible conspiracy, making shit up. Like they were just, yeah, they were so glad it didn't work because he's such a good man.
No, he scares me because he acts like an alcoholic parent.
I like beer.
I don't like beer. I can't say that.
I like beer, not
I
as
know
much as
you do.
Kavanaugh.
Holy shit! You know, it's like, but he's not a good guy. All you have to do is look at his yearbook and see what kind of scum he was. You know?
Yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna take us off air.